I can't stand it, I can't take it anymore, not anymore. No one said that this would be easy. No one said this wouldn't get hard. Brush it off and roll up your sleeves now. It's a shot in the dark till you get what you want. Yeah.
Welcome to Spike College Football Show with your boy Johnny B at BSE. I'm co-hosted by my boy Rob and my boy JC. A little bit different today. We had to do a split show because some of us had obligations. So you'll see through the magic of editing what will happen with that. Right, Rob?
Absolutely. And before we forget, we got to wish Johnny B's mom a happy birthday.
That was the obligations. Happy birthday, Mom. Love you.
Happy birthday, Mom. So, Johnny, what happened yesterday in college football?
Nothing that wasn't expected. Georgia falls short to Bama again. Clemson just ransacked the shit team from the ACC. Miami won. Notre Dame won. Not great, but they both won. Miami was a little better. Notre Dame was like shit, but a win is a win is a win is a win.
What happened to UNC? And I feel like that's one of the most devastating losses that college football is going to see this season. Because I felt like of any team that was making a rise and making a run for the playoffs this year, they were that team that would have been the surprise top four team at the end of the season. And yeah, obviously we still don't have the Big Ten back, and forget about the Pac-12. None of those guys are going to be in it anyway. But they were making a run, and then that loss to Florida State, that is a devastating loss. Great win for FSU. Maybe that'll help them out, a little moral boost. But gosh, man, I was devastated when I saw UNC lost yesterday.
Did you get to see any of the game yesterday?
I did not.
So
we
chimed in. So my God, man. I mean, I can only imagine how bad the first half was because I wasn't able to catch the first half directly, but it was really bad. I mean, even in the fourth quarter, when they were making a push, they were making a run to try and score and tie it up. UNC couldn't get out of their own way. I mean, Sam Howell was running for his life pretty much the entire night. The stat I saw going into the last drive or two, he had like 7 hurries, 6 knockdowns, and 3 sacks. And before that night was over, I saw another 2 sacks and probably another 3 hurries and 1 knockdown. Like, he had no time whatsoever. 0. And it was crazy because Florida State was getting pressure with 4, and then if he still had a clean enough pocket, maybe his receivers would catch the ball, maybe they wouldn't. And the next play, they would blitz 7, and he wouldn't be ready for it. It was just bad. It was really ugly to watch because then Florida State would come out and do stupid shit. Like, I caught the very end of the third quarter. North Carolina had just scored. So it was 21-31 when Florida State was up like 24-0 at half. So they did nothing in the third quarter. And North Carolina has to kick off to them with 1 second left. So they kick it out the back of the end zone, still 1 second left in the third quarter. Florida State comes out, decides to do a pass. Their quarterback is running for his life, decides to try and throw it to a receiver on the run. And one of the D-backs for North Carolina picks it with one hand with 1 second left in the third quarter. And they literally start with the ball on the 30-yard line in Florida State territory, start the fourth quarter, 3 and out, guy kicks a field goal and misses.
Wow.
Just terrible. Back-breaking, terrible football all around. And I guess Florida State's better at that kind of back-breaking, terrible football than North Carolina. I don't know. It was not good. They did not look like a number 5 team. I don't think, even if they had won, I don't think they would have stayed in the top 10. It was horrible. But yeah, the fact that they had 2 wide open passes at the end get dropped for a first down or to get in the field goal range to try and kick the field goal. that is devastating, but it was just pure incompetence from what I saw. The last quarter anyway was just pure incompetence, and I can only imagine what UNC was doing in the first half. It was pathetic.
So the overrated teams are starting to show. Arkansas is a little better than we thought. Auburn's a little worse than we thought. Tennessee's terrible. And we have no idea who's good, so thank God for Big Ten football next week.
Fair enough.
That's that kind of leads into another. Johnny B was texting me because UCF, they lose by 1, right? And same kind of thing. You can't feel bad for them. Yeah, you put up 49 points, but you gave up 50 points. If you put up 49 points in a game and you lose, that's on you. That's clearly the offense is way out ahead of the defense. Like we've got to get a little better balance on that team.
Mhm. Yeah, well, and at least that's an entertaining game, though. I mean, I think there's something to be said for your philosophy as a football team, and clearly UCF and Memphis in years past, they would go, I think it was 50 something to 50 something. Like I think they went into overtime the last time they had to play, but still they're known for having all out offense and no defense, kind of like the Big 12, but in my opinion, way better. And okay, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Like that to me is it's not devastating, like you were saying. It's just not devastating as a football team to say, hey, we came in saying we are going to score points and we are going to try and outscore everyone, and that's going to be our philosophy. That's kind of what North Carolina was trying to do, but they had 0 at halftime. That's the devastating part, is you were so incompetent. It was not Sam Howell's fault from what I saw. The guy could not get a break. He couldn't get a break from his offensive line. He couldn't get a break from his running game. They were getting hit in the backfield. His receivers were dropping everything. There was one where his receiver dropped the ball because the guy on Florida State turned as the defensive back just as the ball got there. Because of the timing or whatever. It was a really good throw in terms of confusing the defender. Hit his receiver in the hands. The receiver dropped it, but managed to keep the ball alive between his knees. Basically, the ball got between his knees and he kept it, and that's how he caught it. And people freaked out. Oh my God, that's such a fantastic circus catch. Yeah, but he dropped it first. Like, it wasn't good. That was one of the good catches of the night. And it's like, just bad all around. And dudes, like everyone from Florida State went over to Sam Howell and was just like, that's rough, buddy, after the game was over, because they knew it wasn't his fault. It was not his fault. And so it's just, God, it was just really, that's the devastating part. The backbreaking part is, does your quarterback, who tried to put the team on his back, even get up from that mentally afterwards to go, why am I, risking my neck out here for you guys? I don't think you can say that about UCF. UCF, there's no one who's really getting down on themselves, maybe the defensive coordinator, but there's not like one player who's like, man, that's on me, 50 to 49.
Who did you guys pick? So I don't pick the same game.
Oh, yeah. So I picked Miami over Pitt, and I was correct. So that's 2 in a row. What's up? 2-3 now in the year. JC, you had like 70,000 picks or something like that over the last 2 weeks, and you got kind of a pass last week. So how did you do?
Well, it's funny you talk about it. So last weekend, Coastal Carolina game got pushed to the middle of this week. So before I talk about the bad, let's talk about the good. Coastal Carolina pulled it off, so I got the win there. So as of midweek, I was so then last show I decided I was going to go off the walls, and I was just going to go pulling games that had some cool matchups that had some interest to me. So I went with UTSA beating Army. Army was going to UTSA. Army was just coming off like a terrible victory over the Citadel. Right. Seemed like they were going downhill, and UTSA was actually they're projecting upward. So long story short on that one, Army pulled it off. It still wasn't pretty, but they pulled it off. Then I also decided that I was going to go kind of big and take BC over Virginia Tech. because BC had just had an impressive win. Virginia Tech was kind of like, they kind of just seemed like it might be heading to that matchup where BC could take it. And they didn't. So 0 for 2 yesterday. My major game, like what we'd call my actual pick, Mizzou over Vandy, has been postponed, and we still don't have a date for it. So I guess what I'm saying is we could take an L this week. Will put me at 4-1.
I think so. So we talked about this last week, and I believe what we said, it was your parlay. You did a 3-game parlay, and if you had gotten all 3 right, you were going to get three W's, even though you're only supposed to pick 1 a week. But if you got 1 right, Vandy, they're not Vandy obviously, but Mizzou over Vandy, but you got your 2 off the wall picks wrong, which you did, they would only count as like half losses. It'd be just 1 loss. But if you lost all 3, which is still technically up, we count them as 3 losses because you go over 3. So this is a big deal. So this delay is a huge deal for your record, because right now, yes, I would say you are 4-1. You've got 1 L on the board, but it could turn into 3 losses in a blink of an eye.
Well, I'll take 4-1. That was that was a little. Obviously, I don't like to pick against Army. They just, man, they were looking like they were struggling a little bit, and I got to be honest, even yesterday, it wasn't impressive.
Who did I pick last week? I don't remember. Refresh my memory.
You picked a big game. I feel like it was a fairly big game anyway.
Didn't I pick Bama over Georgia?
Maybe. Let's see. I want to make sure, because that doesn't seem right.
Did I pick South Carolina?
No, I think you picked UCF over Memphis.
I did. That was a great pick. Never again.
Going into this week, I'm going to take everybody on a little bit of a journey here. And we're going to go back to 2017 when number 2 Clemson got beat by Syracuse. Huge upset.
Oh, yeah.
Huge. 2018. Clemson pulls off a victory. They were number 3. They pull off a victory, but barely. Okay. So Clemson, Syracuse has been kind of this potential major upset.
Oh my God, do it.
In order to get me back on track, though, and recover from these losses, I'm going to pick Clemson over Syracuse.
Oh, man.
This is my guaranteed gimme pick. Man, there's nothing more I'd like to see than Syracuse winning football games, right? I mean, that's my home state football team, and, it's always good to see them winning. That victory in 2017 was just the most incredible thing ever. But it's not looking good. Syracuse, you just lost Liberty last weekend.
Yeah.
Nice. Look, I got to get my record going back. This is called the segment, so I'm going to take a cheap one here and pick Clemson.
Dear God. All right. Man, you're just building it up and just tearing it down. I think that's a fair pick. And they're playing in Clemson. That's the thing. The 2017 upset was in the Carrier Dome, and no, I agree with you. I can't believe Liberty won. They were favorites and they won going away. This is bad.
Wild stuff, man.
Geez. So, well, okay, for what it's worth, I am now on a 2-game winning streak because Miami pulled it off against Pittsburgh. It was a push, I think, on the spread because it was supposed to be 13.5. Miami was going to win, and it dropped down to 12 right before halftime, which is weird because Pittsburgh went to their true freshman backup. Their quarterback didn't even get on the bus, and we still lost points. Basically, we gave them less points when we found out that they had a true freshman, and it was plus 12, and we won by 12. So I guess minus 12 for Miami. We won by 12. We went exactly down the line, but a victory is a victory, and that means that I'm 2-3 now. So almost to 500.
You're
So,
you get
so
trying to
I'm
look
going to go on
something.
a limb. I don't know what Johnny has to say about this week in football. We will find out, but because the Big Ten is coming back this week, we have literally no idea who's going to do well, who's going to do poorly, because it's going to be a shit show. I mean, that's just what it is. It's going to be a straight up shit show. And I'm going to go ahead and pick somewhat of an upset in the Big 12 just because both teams are coming in ranked, but again, haven't touched the field one iota this year, and other teams have 5 games in. I'm going to pick Minnesota to upset Michigan.
Wow.
First game of the season. They're playing in Minnesota. Minnesota's 24th. Michigan is 19th. And I think that Michigan's not going to be ready for this game. I'm sorry. Michigan's not. They've been bitching and complaining for the return of Big Ten football. And I get it. I understand there's politics and whatnot behind it, but it means they haven't been focusing on football, is what I'm thinking. Meanwhile, Minnesota's just quietly over here doing their thing, getting their blue chip receiver back and having plenty of time to get him up to scratch without anybody really knowing what he's capable of this year compared to last year. I think it's not going to be much of a surprise to me anyway, because they aren't ranked that far apart. But I think Minnesota beats Michigan to start the year off and just totally tanks Michigan's campaign from day one.
All right, well, I'll make my pick right now because I think I'm 2-3 on the year. So I'm going to give you a 3-team parlay. Give me SMU over Cincinnati.
Big pick.
Give me North Carolina over North Carolina State.
Big pick after this week.
Give me Notre Dame over Pittsburgh.
Not so big a pick.
Give me Iowa State over Oklahoma State.
Wow.
And what else do I like? I like a lot of these games.
Are you part of a 4-game parlay?
Give me a West Virginia over Texas Tech as a 5-team parlay. So it's West Virginia, Iowa State, North Carolina, SMU, and my last one was Notre Dame over Pittsburgh. Okay. Those are my 5. I'm going to go 5-0. That's an easy 5-team parlay right there.
Are you gonna lock one of them and say this is your lock of the week and the rest?
My lock of the week
of those 5.
The upset is SMU over Cincinnati.
Okay, so upset SMU is your lock. Okay.
Yep, yeah, that's what I like.
Right. So if you get that one, then I would count the rest as half losses.
So cool. I'll be right back in the standings.
Yeah, and if not, then you'll be 5 losses down. So what else happened in the world of college football is a brand new talent has emerged on the stage. A young, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed 18-year-old who currently goes to Rutgers and has started his foray into the sports blogging and podcasting world named Noah has joined us at PSE. And I know that you know who he is because you're the one who discovered him, brought him on.
Talent knows talent.
Talent knows talent. And so you know that he's an up-and-comer, a rising star. But we had a conversation with him a little while ago when I first met him. And he said that he has a bucket list of all the stadiums that he needs to see as part of this journey of being heavily involved in college football and learning all he can.
So guessing by our show is that's the draft you guys did today.
We decided to pick the top 3 stadiums for each of us that we felt needed to be seen if we were.
Did you guys pick the same stadiums or was it different?
This was a draft, so we were picking each of our stadiums, 3 different ones, to make sure that Noah had a good solid list from the 3 of us here at Spiked to say if we were in his shoes, you have to go to these stadiums. Where are the places that you would go? Say 1, 2, and 3.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So, I I have a few in mind. I actually have a number in mind. Narrow it down to 3. Kind of tough. For me, it tends to not just the stadium, but atmosphere, and not even always just the quality of football being played, but like kind of what's going on around you, where the stadium is. Like, so I will say this. I'll start with this. I'll start with an honorable mention. So I was fortunate enough to be able to go to the Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas, a number of times. And while it wouldn't be something that I would put in like, okay, guys, if you got a bucket list in a top 5 or 3, maybe that's not where it goes. However, if you want to experience probably one of the most unique stadiums in the country because of how it sits, that would be a cool place to go. It's kind of in the desert, in the mountains. Like when you're up in the stands, you're tucked into the mountains. And from there you have a view into Mexico. Like it's just kind of crazy, weird. Like it's a really, really cool atmosphere. And the one year I went to a game, it was Miami versus Notre Dame.
I was going to say.
Snow on the ground. There was snow. So it was cool. So I just want to throw an honorable mention in there for them. Shout out UTEP in El Paso.
So I was going to say the only time that I would have gone to the El Paso Bowl is when Miami played Notre Dame and we got absolutely smoked before we even came off the bus. It was cold. We had fired our fucking head coach against USF after the USF game because our athletic director sucks at the time. Oh my God. Yeah, there were so many things wrong with that bowl game, but I saw the stadium and I was like, that looks awesome. That looks like a really cool place to hang out. I'm just really sad that we didn't bother to show up. Our hearts and minds are still in Miami right now. So yeah, that's awesome.
You guys didn't have a chance. It was quite the game. It was really, and again, really cool atmosphere. So there's my honorable mention. UTEP, shout you guys out. Yeah, that one. Now, for me personally, the ones that I would really love to go to experience. Tennessee. Huge stadium. Huge. Like, I don't think people realize just how big it is. You know, you talk about Penn State, you talk about Michigan and their capacities. Well, Tennessee hosts over 100,000 people as well. So Tennessee would be a cool one. And also being in Tennessee, the mountains, I love the state. So I would say Tennessee would be one. It'd be great for any kind of a road trip and a nice stop along the way. I would also put in there, and not because I'm necessarily a fan of the team or anything like that, but I would put Ohio State on my list. And the reason being, I had a coach in college. He was our offensive line coach. And he had been an intern coach at Michigan State. And he said the loudest stadium he's ever been in was Ohio State. And he said that it seemed to be because of how the stadium was designed. It seemed like all of the noise was directly on top of you. You know, so like if you look at Michigan and how it just kind of like bowls out, right? Well, the way he describes it is, man, Ohio State's like this, and it's just dumping on top of you. You can't hear anything. So I think that'd be a cool experience as well. So that's 2. And 3, I don't think there's too much of a cooler atmosphere in college football than Penn State on a whiteout. And I think that would be like, if I was to plan for any one game in one stadium, I would plan that trip to Penn State for a whiteout game. And I think that's probably my top 3.
Well, that's a great one. So just obviously you weren't there for the conversation with Noah, but since he goes to Rutgers, he said that and he's a football buff. So he said the best part about a whiteout is that Penn State loses that game way too often for how cool and how much of a home field advantage it should give them. And so he was like, my My perfect scenario is going to Penn State during a whiteout because they're doing it against Rutgers, and having Rutgers upset Penn State for no reason other than it's a whiteout, and he gets to go during a whiteout and see them fall silent, basically.
Solid. That would be cool. I like it.
Yeah, and along that point, when I went up to, because I've been to Florida State to Doak Campbell a few times, and I think every time I've gone, Miami has lost. So I'm not the best of luck for Miami as we're traveling. But to go to Doak Campbell when everyone's in garnet and gold and everything is garnet and gold and very shiny, and just the stupid chop chant for hours on end from this giant stadium that has maybe not 100,000, but pretty darn close, filled to max capacity. And there's this tiny sliver for the visitors, just this teeny tiny sliver for when we travel, the Canes dressing green. So you have this tiny sliver of green in an ocean of garnet and gold. And I remember when Al Golden was our coach, so of course we didn't win. We scored a touchdown to go up in the fourth quarter, which should never have happened. We were not a good team. They were definitely better than us. I think Duke Johnson got injured very early in the game. We didn't have our star running back, and we somehow managed to pull out a passing attack out of our ass and to score a touchdown in the fourth quarter to take the lead. Everyone in Doak Campbell falls silent, except for this tiny sliver of green people who are freaking out. And there was literally echoing off of the walls or off of the other people who had nothing to say from FSU when we were losing our shit. Oh, it was so good. I mean, even the fact that we lost that game, that 10 seconds, that really 10 minutes between scoring the kickoff and then when they came down and scored, it was so amazing. That's impossible to replicate. And I would love to see that at a whiteout with like a Rutgers team, just a tiny group of students from New Jersey showing up and just, creating so much noise, more than 10 times the amount of people who are dressed in white. It'd be a beautiful thing. So with that said, though, Doak Campbell is a good stadium. It would not be on my bucket list of to-dos. If no other reason, then the best atmosphere about going to Tallahassee for a game is Tallahassee. It's the town, it's the people. They are incredibly nice. It's weird when you're going for a rivalry game and they say, "We are so glad y'all came up here to hang out with us." Like, they honestly love Miami rivalry week in Tallahassee. They enjoy it because it's when everybody shows up and everybody has a good time. And they're just so happy that we made the trip, 8 hours to go hang out with them. So the town is cool. The stadium it's all right. It's fine. But I would love to go to a couple of these just awesome places that have not only a lot of tradition and history, but it just sounds like a really cool place to play football. Like Between the Hedges at UGA, I love the idea of just having so much greenery, not only on the field, but around it, just in general, having just having this real feel of playing football. I'm almost in a pristine condition, almost, because they got all the brick and they got the hedges and it's classy as fuck. And when UGA is playing good ball, it's a lot of fun. When UGA is not playing good ball, it's still a lot of fun. It's still a nice place. It's like, well, if I'm going to get beaten up by Alabama, for example, at least I could do it in a nice looking place. Nice scenery. So that would be one of mine. I would definitely love to go see a big game there because I think that would be phenomenal. I also want to go see one in Blacksburg. My friend went to Blacksburg, Virginia Tech, the one year in recent memory that Miami blew out Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. And he tells the story better than I do, but through random coincidence, he managed to befriend a player for Virginia Tech. Like, his parents ended up befriending my friend, who has been, he's a Miami fan, true blue Miami fan. He literally has his own GIF on Twitter for him being a Miami fan and dressed up in like his getup for Saturdays. So that's how big a Miami fan he is. And he became friends with this family. They had him over for dinner before the Virginia Tech game when he got to go up and visit them in Blacksburg. He sat with all the friends and family for the Virginia Tech players during the game where Virginia Tech got blown out by like 30 points by Miami. And he said, despite how awkward it was, it was not only a great game for him to watch, but it was an amazing atmosphere. Blacksburg itself, just an amazing setup, amazing atmosphere. And I definitely have that on my bucket list for ACC teams to go play and to go watch games there. So the last one's going to be a little interesting just because it's hard. There's so many, like I said, Ohio State, huge game. I went to Illinois and we hated it when Ohio State showed up because all the Ohio State fans would travel with them. And they're as obnoxious can be. And so, yeah, I guess I would like to go there, but I can only imagine how obnoxious they'd be when they dot that stupid I. Like, I don't know if I'd want to be there in person for that experience. So I'll go with a real sleeper pick. And I like it because of, like I said, the scenery of the stadium and where it is and kind of what you get to see around the stadium, even if the football inside is complete and total garbage. The Vanderbilt Commodores have a stadium. It's very nice. It's right on the river. It's beautiful. And you could spend your time not looking at the football field. And I feel like it'd still be a great time. Just like a nice chill. I mean, they're the Commodores. They're supposed to be on a river because they have theoretically something to do with the water. Yeah, I just feel like that would be a really cool spot to hang out and not really have a lot of expectations for the game, right? You're just kind of, everybody's here to just have a good time. It's Vanderbilt. But, I feel like that they would have a really nice atmosphere. And like I said, just from stadiums in general, being able to say, hey, I got to come here and see future NFL stars beat up on the Vanderbilt Commodores. I think it'd be pretty cool. So.
Yeah, that's a cool one. That is a little bit of a, like you said, sleeper pick. I also really like your Virginia Tech pick. That is probably another understated team and atmosphere. Virginia, where it's located, is absolutely beautiful. The country around it is beautiful. Mm-hmm. So, that's a solid pick. I like your list.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think it's also better that I picked ones that I know will not cost a lot of money. Going to these places more often than not won't break the bank, to try and get in. If I wanted to just take a road trip and show up at Vanderbilt and say, hey, I'm here for a game, guys. Don't worry about me. They'll be like, all right, weirdo, come on in.
All right, well, I already have my three. You guys didn't take any of them.
Nope.
Mine is Notre Dame. Obvious reasons. Mikey Stadium for Army.
Yes.
Talk about picturesque on a river.
Absolutely.
My last one is down there in the Bayou. Bayou La Battery, maybe. Or Bayou Soho. Or Bayou Shoot 'em. I don't know. Shoot 'em, Jacob. Shoot 'em. This is the real Death Valley in LSU.
Of course. That's a quality pick.
By three. I think we have the best. I think we have the top line off the board.
Well, I specifically picked three that even if it's an off year and you happen to be in the area on a Saturday, you should be able to go. You should be able to get cheap tickets.
That's exactly how I picked. I mean, the Hudson River backdrop in the fall for Army is amazing.
Of course.
It's LSU, so I don't have to explain that. And then Touchdown Jesus is that's just like something you have to go see.
Yeah, well, the problem
there, you can attest to that.
Absolutely, but you can't get in there, right? You can't just show up and be like, I'm here for a game now. Thanks, guys.
Apparently you can if you're in the movie Rudy. And JC's again was...
JC's...
Tennessee, I would love to go to that big-ass...
Yeah.
I've seen the stadium, but I haven't been there for a game.
He picked three of the bigger ones, the ones where the noise from the crowd could be overwhelming, but just...
He went for the shock and awe factor.
Exactly. Ohio State, shock and awe. Penn State during a whiteout, shock and awe. And
that's pretty awesome. I've been to that.
Yeah. And then Tennessee, just Tennessee.
I mean, those are I think all top 5 biggest stadiums.
Probably.
Because they're not number one. Michigan's one. But I think those are I honestly think those are 2, 3, and 4.
Probably. Tennessee, well, that's why it was such a big deal when Kentucky won yesterday over Tennessee by a lot, because it was the first time in, 26 years, I think they said, that they ever won in Tennessee.
Really?
It was a long time. It was first time in a very long time that Kentucky beat Tennessee in Tennessee.
I think I think conversely to this conversation, you could have a conversation too about some of the stadiums that you might think would be at the top of somebody's list, but are really like garbage. Like they don't, the exact opposite. You know, there's because I can think of a number of teams out there who have phenomenal programs, who on TV may seem like a great place, but like if you've ever actually been there and around it, you're kind of like, this is trash. This is trash. You know, so that might be one for another day.
Yeah.
Talk about some like bus.
Yeah, the disappointments of of stadiums around college football. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, it's going to be hard for me. I feel like Miami will have to be on that list, but as someone who tailgated for years, I mean years after graduating at Miami, the setup is garbage, but the people who show up, they make the most of it. It is tailgating, like true tailgating at its finest, because it's NFL tailgating at a college football game. And that's a very rare combination, but you have to know what you're getting into. My friend was basically a professional at it. You know, we'd get up super early in the morning. We'd hit the Walmart that's basically across the street from it, the giant one. And we try to get there before everybody else did, because everyone would load up on all the alcohol, food, all this stuff. And you just set up for as long as the game is, say 3-4 hours, you have to be tailgating at least that long, and then you feel like you've gotten your money's worth. But there's a whole thing to that yeah, on paper, going to see Miami play at the Dolphin Stadium really it's fine, but because it's not on campus, you know, it's always going to be weird. It's always going to be if you're expecting a true college football experience, or say a pure college football experience like you would at Ohio State or Michigan or any place like that, yeah, you're not going to get it. You're going to be like, what the fuck is this? Why are we in a parking lot for 5 hours? And it's like, well, it's a different vibe. But yeah, I would say that 100%. We could think about places like that that would be not worth the value. Let's put it that way, of your trip.
I think I look forward to next week. I'll actually be on the show next week. It'll be good. But, you know, we can make sure to track everybody on Twitter and share it, guys. We got the new app out.
So, JC, go download the app for PSE Sports. We've got all of our podcasts, all of our YouTube shows, all of our blogs, and other goodies for those of you who love sports and all the extra things about it. It's all in one app now. It's going to be awesome. We're actually doing a giveaway. $300 is on the table for anybody who downloads it and checks us out. So definitely check it out. And I will always and forever thank my personal graphic designer, Gabby, who has Comic Dino Design and Comic Dino Graphic Design, for all of the work that she's done for us, and I'm sure will continue to do for us in the future with all of the cool graphics. Check out her website as well. All right. Well, JC, as always, you're representing Outback Buck Shack.
Yeah, man. Outback Buck Shack. Make sure you guys go grab some gear. Outbackbuckshack.com. You know, it is deer season after all. It's my competing interest season with college football and deer season, so I try to have a little bit of balance. But yeah, so jump over there, give us some business, jump on the Instagram, check us out, take it out back.
See you all next week. Until then, keep spiking it and hit us up on Twitter, because don't worry, you give us shit, we'll give it right back to you, and we'll have a good time.
Keep spiking it.
Cool, man.
All right.
Wow. I love that pick. That is exciting.